3, 2, 1.
You're live?
We're live.
Yep. Or I'm not. I'm dead on the inside.
We know. We know. I made food and he just kind of showed up again.
I never left.
So, hello everyone. Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about, just going to kind of jump into this. There's an expression that the 90s folks will probably recognize. A term that really has no other way of explaining it. It is known as pulling a homer or doing a homer. Now, for those who are younger than the age of 25, I will explain. Doing a homer or pulling a homer is when you are what would today be called accidentally awesome. And we're going to be talking about that tonight with hoaxes. Now, I know I've mentioned a few times I have very little patience for charlatans and frauds and stuff like that. And that's true. But there is a small little niche category of people who pull off something, and it's usually pretty freaking dumb, that you can't help but admire the hilarity or calamity that it causes. Now, before we get into that, I want to make some clarifications, because there was some confusion about something I said last week that I didn't. We were talking about the Dover Demon. Now, one of the theories about the Dover Demon is that it was a senior class prank. I stated that there was no way a whole class of kids could pull off a prank like that. Somebody somewhere would spill the beans. That is not to say that people could not fabricate a cryptid or a myth. In fact, sometimes you can do it without even trying. The problem is that the more people you have involved in your prank or your hoax, the more complicated, the more messy it becomes, and the less likely you can... Calm down. This guy. I mentioned the Dover Demon, and he's like, I'm related to that guy. For the record, yes, Gluttony is okay. She's recovered from her broken leg. But anyway, back to my point. Some of the best hoaxes, some of the most insane, unbelievable things that we've ever seen in cryptozoology were not even intentional. A great example, and one actually from my own family, is, of course, those of you who were in the chat last week would have seen it, mention of the Chocoloco monster, or Chocoloco, as some people call him. Now,
Is he cuckoo for Cuckoo Puffs?
well, no, he's named after the area. See, this creature was originally sighted in Chocoloco, Alabama, which is a mountain range, if you're curious.
Where everybody's related.
Probably. It is Alabama. Real quick, hi everyone in the chat. Hi Connie. Hi Bishop. But no. So here's the deal with this creature. The Chocoloco monster was described as a horrifying monster, almost twice as tall as a man, with horns and a pale face.
It's not his fault he's ugly.
Well, it kind of is, because he was, well... So here's the thing about it. Dozens of people saw this creature and actually have continued to see it even to today. There's just one problem with that. The Chocoloco monster is retired. So if you drive through the mountain range of Alabama and you see a monster, you didn't see Chocoloco. I don't think you saw anything. So here's the deal with him. There was a boy... I kind of don't want to say his full name, just because, you know, we were actually, my dad was actually in chat with him, see if he could actually get on the show, and he said he wasn't available. And so I feel kind of weird talking about somebody who's not here to, give their exact side of the story. But I believe it was, help me out here, Dad, Neil Williamson, if I'm not mistaken. He was a boy at the time, I want to say around 16 or 17 years old. And
Called a teenager.
yeah, high schooler. No, he was younger than that because I remember he did all this. He did all this elaborate stuff without a driver's license. So he was under 16. He had to be like 14 or he had to be 14 or 15.
I was driving around without a driver's license. I can neither confirm or deny that.
You just did. The camera and the microphone are both live. 15. Okay, he was 15 years old when this happened. Thank you, Chet. Thank you, Dad. Help me out here. Anyway, so the stories are interesting because they kind of contradict, because several different people have told this story. He actually even did a few interviews later on where he gave his side of the story, but basically he found this old bleached cow skull. And I can personally attest, finding a skull is one of the coolest things that can happen to you in your day. Like, seriously, the only
one
thing...
of the most random ass shit that can happen to you, too.
Yeah, no, seriously, like, finding a skull is up there with, like, finding a $20 bill. Like, seriously, that is just instantly a good day, in my opinion. Well, I'll get to that. Anyway, so he found this skull, and basically he felt that he had to do something with it. Like, you don't just find a basically preserved perfect skull. What the hell are you doing over there? You sound like an Eminem track. What the freak?
Hey man, I'm not that good.
But you are that bad. Anyway, he knew he had to do something with it. Because, I mean, come on. It's a perfect skull just sitting there.
Just like when my buddies found that dead squirrel.
Exactly. When you find something like that, you can't just let it be wasted and rot. You gotta do something with it.
Put it into a Dorito bag, put it right next to the ranch and ketchup dispenser, and just watch the chaos happen.
Anyway, though, so he found this old bed sheet, wrapped himself up in it, and held the skull above his own head. And then he went out into the mountain. By the way, I'm going to have this one critique of him. He picked the worst place in the world to do this prank.
Dude, seriously, that's like that. Everyone carries a gun down there. They shoot first, and
we'll get
then maybe ask.
I'm talking about up on a mountain range. On a mountain road, you swerve even a little bit too far, and you're going off an edge. Like, really not a good place to pull this prank. But what happened is, he waited on the side of the road until he could hear a car coming, because he couldn't see. So he had to listen. And sure enough, he hears a car coming, and he runs out into the road, and then darts back off the road. So he looks like some big creature that just ran out across the road. And there was a woman with her child in the car. Now, here's the thing that I don't understand. Seeing this over 6 foot tall creature with a cow skull for a head, she stops the car.
She was white, wasn't she?
Yes, it's Alabama. So she stopped the car and claims that her car broke down. It stopped. It wasn't working anymore. She was stuck there. But she manages to get it to work again. And she goes immediately to the police station and files a report about seeing a monster that attacked her. So Neil wakes up the next morning, and there on the front page is a report of a monster on Chocoloco Road. The woman claimed that it was the most frightening thing that had ever happened to her. She said, and I quote, this is documented, by the way, "I was sure the bugger had got me."
That's some inbred shit right there.
So when he realized this is serious. People they filed a police report. This is in the news. This is getting serious. Mm-hmm. And every night, like clockwork. And supposedly, he worked on this costume so he could see. Because he would see cars coming and he would jump out and scare them and run back. I'm just going to say this right now. I am not advocating for breaking any laws on this show so long as the microphone is live. I am not going to tell you to go out and do stupid shit like this. I will say, Neil Williamson is a fucking legend for this. I just wish he had chosen any other road to do this on. On a mountain road, that's extremely dangerous, and it's not funny when someone gets hurt. Shut up. Anyway.
You're right, it's hilarious.
I was delayed reaction from him, of course. Anyway, though. So he's doing this, and he's racking up a sort of body count. People are making reports left and right. There's even people making reports that weren't him. He's like, wait, what? I only saw 4 cars last night. What do you mean there were 6 sightings? What?
I bet $5 someone saw that and they thought it was hilarious, so they tried doing it too.
Well, here's the thing. This all kind of came to a head a couple nights later when there was a truck. He saw it coming. He got out into the road to do his ooga booga dance, and scare them. But the truck stopped. And 6 men got out with shotguns. He ran for the hills, and fortunately, he ducked into the to the woods themselves to hide. But anyway,
$5 they were drinking moonshine.
oh, they were shooting up a storm out there.
They probably had that shine in them.
Yeah, my dad mentions, he used an old Navy petticoat for a while too. But yeah, like I said, he kind of changed it up from what I can understand. But he took a break for a couple of days. I think it was like a week or maybe 2 weeks. He didn't do it because he wanted everything to calm down. But there was a problem. People were still seeing the monster when he wasn't going out. So, in some versions of the story, he actually gets angered by this. Now, I'll point out, like I said, I've talked to my dad Chet about this. I've listened to people doing reports about it. There are basically 2 stories. There's one story where he became angered because he thought someone else was doing it. He thought that there was a second person pretending to be a monster, and he was like, hey, this is my road. Other versions, he just laughed it off because it's like, well, these people are stupid. They're seeing a monster and I'm not even out there. But in either case, about 2 weeks later, he decides to start doing it again. But he's a little bit more careful this time because he realizes that there are people now patrolling the road looking for the Chocoloco monster. So he starts driving around using his parents' car, which he stole because obviously he couldn't drive. And he would be like, okay, are there patrols around? Okay, I can't do it tonight. There's patrols. He'd go back home. If the patrols seemed really light or he saw them leave the area, monster going to come out tonight. And
I'll hit my foot.
No. Don't bring Crocs onto my show.
They're comfy and it's hot as fuck outside.
This is not hot. It's not even 90. You're from Mexico. You should be stronger than this.
Bitch, I am fat and I produce a bunch of fucking body heat. It is hot as fuck for me.
Yo!
Even I think it's hot.
You're a sissy lala.
Furthermore, I grew up here in Colorado.
No, you're from Mexico.
Yeah, but I also grew up here. I came here when I was 4 months old.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did I think he came here more recently?
You've known him for like 15 years.
We've brought this up several times.
Okay, first of all, I haven't lived here 15 years. I have only known him maybe 5 or 6,
Yeah,
depending on which law enforcement agency is talking to me at the time. I've only known him for a few years. I thought you came here when you were a teen. You think you know a guy? Anyway, though.
Wow, that got derailed by the Crocs.
what they do.
They're hideous. Anyway, okay, excuse me. So my dad corrected me here. Thankfully, I have him to help me. He actually took a break for 6 weeks, but people were still seeing the monster. So he decides to come back, and he's real smart about it. He's careful, and he gets a good streak going. Like, he's showing up again more consistently. People are scared out of their minds. Everyone's talking about this Chocolate monster, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, there's an old Chinese saying, if you play a game long enough, eventually you'll meet someone who's better at it than you.
Someone kicked his ass.
And how? So, basically, some of these rednecks with shotguns realized that this monster had to have some way of knowing when they were patrolling in the road. It had to know somehow, because it only showed up when they weren't around. So how do you catch a monster that knows when you're on the road? You don't hunt for him on the road. These rednecks actually set up ambush points in the woods. And so when he is coming through to, start scaring people, they spot him. And there go guns. They're shooting suddenly. And so rather than stand in the middle of, the redemption, what was that movie, Deliverance? Instead of sitting around in the Deliverance set, he books it home. Now, keep in mind, he was in the costume when this happened. So he gets home, he takes off that that cow skull, and son of a bitch, part of it has been shot off. One of those hunters actually hit him.
Here's my other thought.
They actually shot him in the head. Fortunately, the skull took the impact.
Some of them had to be farmers. Wouldn't one of them recognize a fucking skull? Cow skull?
Did they care what it was? Or were they just wanting to shoot something?
Did he have a hood?
Well, he used a few different things. He used a bed sheet. He had his old petticoat from the Navy. He had a bunch of different things that he used in this costume. But he got home and he realized that, if that skull hadn't been where it was, he would have taken it right in the dome.
No, the better question is, well, someone knew he shot him in the head and that thing was still moving. He's like, oh, it's turning, it's still moving, Bob. Billy Bob, it's still moving.
Probably old Jebediah took one shot, hit it in the head. It's like, that thing's still moving, I'm getting out of here.
Now, I have a question for you. You have a creature that is described as being over 7 foot tall. It moves and stands like a man, has a pale head and horns. You shoot it square in the head. You see a horn go flying off its body. And it doesn't even react. It still just runs off. Is that not shit your pants terrifying?
That is. I need a bigger caliber firepower.
Well, the Jersey Devil got shot
by a cannon, and it got annoyed.
And just walked it off.
Supposedly.
That's
Jersey
a legend.
Devil's real.
Sure it is. Until we get a cryptid into the science lab.
I'm sorry. It's just that your opinion is not allowed to be valid while you're wearing Crocs in my home. So, yeah, you can just. Oh, I was on your side. The hell. Stay over here, you little bastard. Anyway, so after finally getting a horn shot off and realizing that he literally came a few inches from death, he decided it was time for the Chocoloco monster to retire. And he never went out again. There's just one problem.
They were still getting reports of it?
All the goddamn time. It actually got to the point it started to piss him off. Because he kept hearing about it, and it's like, dude, it wasn't the Chocoloco monster. I know. Because he was the Chocoloco monster. And eventually, this all came to a head, I believe it was in 2001. Dad will have to help me out on that. But I believe it was 2001. He actually had an argument with his wife. Because she was talking about how scary the Chocoloco monster is and how, it's been this terror for so long. And he was like, woman, it's not the Chocoloco monster. I can verify that. And she was like, how? And he said, because I'm the Chocoloco monster. And he told her everything. He confessed the whole thing to her. And 24 hours later, he was getting phone calls to do interviews because she spilled the beans. And how?
That's why you never tell a woman anything, because they're going to gossip.
Mm-hmm. No, he literally was getting harassed, getting phone calls. 2003. He finally broke down and told his wife it because he was sick of hearing about this stupid shit. Because he hadn't done this since, like, what was it, Dad? 69, I think, was when he actually did it. 69, 70, I think is when he did this, off the top of my head. Choco-Loco. That's how you pronounce it?
I don't like that presentation. I don't like how that's said. I like how you were saying.
Choco-Loco?
Yeah, keep it that way.
Well, it's apparently...
It sounds funnier that way.
Apparently it's pronounced Choco-Loco.
Well, they're wrong.
See, I'm going to look it up because I've always heard Chocoloco Mountain Range.
Oh, okay. So my mom is helping out with information here, too. Apparently, this was his wife for over 20 years, and this whole thing sparked between them. This argument happened because her friend claimed that she had seen the monster. And what's faster, telegraph or tell a woman? You know the answer.
Tell a woman.
Easily. Less than 24 hours. It took 24 hours after he told her to be getting interviews about, so I hear you're the Chocoloco monster.
Especially if you tell them in the nail salon. Or a salon.
Oh, yeah, it's amplified inside. Any place where women congregate, it's amplified. Yep. Yeah, 69. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he did this during the winter of 69. The end of 69 into 70 is when he did it. But anyway, he finally broke down.
You did this during winter?
Yes.
Them motherfuckers had to be drunk if they couldn't track someone in the snow.
Well, it's Alabama, and they're armed with shotguns. There's a very, very good chance they are fueled on Blue Ribbon. But anyway...
Or moonshine.
Or moonshine. Yeah, this is 69, 70. Yep. Oh, boy. But anyway. But again, the funny thing is that he was just trying to be funny, you know? And yet it became this huge thing. There was coverage of it. There were people talking about it all over the place. He did several interviews.
It is Chocoloco Mountain.
It is Choc?
Yeah.
Okay, Chocoloco Monster. But anyway,
That does not sound as cool.
fun
No,
side
it does
note,
not.
there's a high school that their mascot is actually Chocoloco Monster.
Is it missing part of its freaking face?
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Did he keep the skull?
As far as I know, he did. Like I said, he's actually, I believe he would technically be a great uncle once removed to me. He is on my family tree by marriage. And like I said, we kind of were hoping he could actually call in and we could talk to him for a minute. But unfortunately, it's just not something that can happen right now.
I saw videos of your show and he's like, nope, they got a Mexican on there. Forget this.
You would be the reason that we didn't get the Chocoloco Monster on our show. You would be. Prick.
Well, if he's an ass like
Oh,
that, do we really
no,
want to talk
my
about it?
dad confirmed he actually destroyed it.
What? He should have kept it.
No, he destroyed
But then again, when you're a teenager and like, you
Well,
think
see-
you're gonna get caught, you get rid of all evidence.
Oh yeah. No. We were hey, don't even try and look innocent over there in the corner. We were all master spies at one time.
No.
In
we
our
thought
youth.
we were master spies. We were just stupid little shits thinking that we were getting away with shit when we weren't. And our parents decided not to say anything.
See, I got away with it. I don't know about you. But boy howdy, yeah, no. Freaking the CIA ain't got nothing on a teenage boy that is trying desperately to not get caught. You want to talk about thorough destruction of evidence? Boy howdy, we will teach you shit. Yeah, eventually it kind of went on, and Chocoloco Monster became another variant of the Bigfoot.
See, okay, man.
Tara, you could have been a good kid. Fine, whatever. You were never a teenage boy. You don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, uncle by marriage, excuse me, is the term that they would use for him. Or great uncle by marriage, I think. No, uncle by marriage. Anyway. Oh. Interesting. Okay. So, according to my dad, he claims he destroyed the costume because he didn't want to be tempted to go out and do it again, because he realized there were a few inches between that skull and his skull.
Yeah. That's when you said of decoys.
You know, I have to say, like I said, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything stupid. Neil kind of got stupidly lucky and he became a legend of his own. That's awesome. But here's the thing. Even legends die. And making a cool cryptid ghost story thing is not worth your life. So I completely agree with Neil's decision to...
Best example of it going well and it going badly. His went perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
No one got hurt. And everyone's fine.
Which is saying it kind of impressive.
Some, especially getting shot with being shot at with shotguns. Perfect example of going horribly wrong. We all saw it on the news. The freaking clown scares.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Good chunk of people just like as soon as they got near the car, they just took off. There were videos of the freaking clowns just hanging on the vehicles while they're fucking driving and shit.
Mm-hmm. People got hurt.
Yeah.
So, I personally completely understand him getting rid of the costume. I understand him ringing it in. Though I will say, and again, I'm not encouraging anything, and if you feel encouraged by me, I will deny it up and down. But I will say...
I will say that he told you to do it. It was all his idea.
I reiterate, you have Crocs on, your opinion doesn't matter.
He was encouraging you to do it.
Neil became a legend. He was stupidly lucky when he did it, though. But anyway, and it is kind of funny, actually, because his story is very similar to how we got the Vagrant. I found that deer skull in a trash can, and I was like, oh, this is too cool not to keep. I gotta keep this thing. For, jeez, how many months? It lived out on the porch because my roommates couldn't stand the damn thing and thought it was nasty and didn't like it.
Well, you got it
Pulled it out of a trash can
in a Walmart parking lot.
Yes, I did.
I've seen what people have done to those trash cans.
I know that, but the point is for the longest time it was out there. And what's funny is there were so many evolutions to the Vagrant, and it's even funnier because one of the costumes that the Chocoloco Monster used was basically just being wrapped in a bedsheet, holding the skull in front of his face or over his head. That's literally what the original Vagrant costume was.
Yo, around your skull and the freaking.
Yes, we literally took. The very, very first iteration of the Vagrant costume, we put like 3 different bed sheets over me, and because the skull was originally screwed onto a piece of wood, and so I would have my fingers wrapped around that piece of wood, holding the skull up in front of my face. This is before we found that creepy dude who actually gets into the costume now and does it for us. But you get my point.
Yeah.
Back when I did the vagrancy stuff myself. Yeah, there it is. There it is, right there. There's our original. Pass it over. Be careful with it, though. Be very careful with it. Seriously, yes. We literally used a belt and some COVID masks to tie it to my face.
Yeah, this did start around the COVID times.
It did.
Forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Let's see here. There he is. Yeah, this is the original Vagrant skull. Now, we since then got a mask that we can actually, like, wear and it doesn't hurt like hell. Dude, we used to make so much fun because I would take this off and I'd have, like, scars and stuff on my face from having the skull pressed against me. And these idiots are just encouraging me to hurt myself. They're taking pictures laughing about it.
Yay.
I
What are good friends for if to not encourage you to do dumb things?
Exactly.
Valid point, but no. But here's the funniest part of all. All this happened with me making this, and I never knew about my dear uncle, the Chocoloco monster. How does that... Is that not just the most interesting coincidence? And that's... Yeah, this is our mask now.
This is one we had specially made by an artist.
Yeah, this is from our dear friend Zero.
And it has an actual face strap on it.
Yeah, and it's actually made of foam, so it doesn't crush the person. This way?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
There.
Yeah. Bit of a size difference. But yeah, no.
If you pay attention, you can tell which videos we use the real skull and which one we use the mask in.
Yeah. Just because there are differences, but obviously if this worked as a mask, we wouldn't have this, so. But yeah. Be careful with those. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny how history rhymes, isn't it?
Repeats itself.
Well, history doesn't repeat itself; it just rhymes. But yeah, no. Without knowing it, I continued the proud line of taking an animal's skull and concealing yourself in shadows and trying to scare the crap out of people. I didn't even know it was the family business.
At least you did it on video.
Yeah, and I wasn't, almost driving people off of mountain ranges. Like I said, and being shot. I've never... Fun side note. So, please be careful with it. It is... That's a real skull, and it's fragile.
I know.
Seriously, I would part with you before I part with that skull. Please be careful.
Wish you could. I am eternal. I am forever.
Yeah, right.
3 prongs on one antler and just a single, or 4 prongs on one antler and just a single on the other.
Yep. A strange buck is the actual term for it. Extremely rare, actually, in nature. Anyway, though. Oh, that's right. My mother is going to call me out. We did almost kill someone with this costume. We were filming, and we were all hungry, so we had ordered pizza. And I was still in the costume, so we had the brilliant idea, hey, let's have the vagrant answer the door for pizza.
And you didn't invite me over for some stupid shenanigans like this?
I remember that, yeah.
Well, see, here's the problem.
I ought to take off my chancla and hit you with it.
So, she had put the pizza down in front of the door, so the door swings open and the vagrant just comes out, and she was at the stairs, and she almost fell down the stairs. So we kind of did almost accidentally kill someone with
no one's died going down those stairs. They've gone hurt, bruised, landed on top of a couple people.
Are you talking about yourself?
Oh no, this was a couple friends of mine, but I wasn't there that night.
I'm sure. Anyway, though, but yeah, no.
They were taking shots out of teacups.
Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that the Chocoloco monster would so eerily mirror the vagrant?
Yeah, I can go get my gun.
No.
Let's make it look reenact.
No. Absolutely not. Calm down, you. Why do you get excited when there's mention of violence towards me?
What did you do to him?
I let him live on my couch.
You had to do something.
That logic doesn't stand. Calm down. Should be glad he did. Shut the freak up.
With the knife.
Anyway, though, we're going to move on to another accidentally awesome incident in history. This one is much more famous. Well, maybe, kind of. Who here is familiar with the War of the Worlds panic?
Me?
I guarantee you're not.
Probably not. It doesn't sound something I would go out of my way to look up.
So,
You'll like this one.
yeah, you'll like this one. It's actually pretty funny. So, Dateline, 1938. A radio drama show called Mercury Theater, which specialized in science fiction readings, had decided that they were going to do, how do I put this? It's not a reimagining, a variation of the classic story War of the Worlds. However, because they are a radio drama, they had the brilliant idea of telling the story from the perspective of radio hosts having to relay the breaking news as, flying saucers, invade and stuff like that. Now, here's the problem. I mentioned that tonight is about hoaxes. And there's a reason, because there is a hoax here, actually, but it's not the one you're thinking of. I'll explain. See, the problem is that a bunch of people tuned in basically halfway through the show and thought that it was an actual breaking news report. Keep in mind, this was in 1938. What happened in 1939?
World War II.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of stuff going on in Europe.
There was already chaos and panic and fear. And so now you have a radio drama that is about a radio DJ host person having to report invasion in America.
Orson Welles, he was a filmmaker and a radio.
Mm-hmm. Love Orson Welles. I love Orson Welles. By the way, real quick, we're going to throw the shout out here. You can actually hear lots of his work, lots of his shows over on our friends at the Late Late Horror Show. They do overnight streams playing old radio dramas, wonderfully restored and mastered and cleaned up. I listen to that show. I fall asleep to it. It's a wonderful channel. Dino, who hosts the channel, is a great guy, very good friend of the channel. Absolutely, you should be watching their live streams every night after our show, of course. But he has Orson Welles stuff on all the time, like at least a couple times every week. Welles was a wonderful narrator and a phenomenal host, which kind of came to bite him in the ass because people believed this. They thought that this was happening for about 10 minutes. See, remember I said that there was a hoax. Here's the thing. So, people need to understand exactly how radio worked. Radio worked very differently than television. Back in 1938, there was like 3 syndicates for entertainment. There were 3 brands, really. And there was a lot of room on the radio. So very often you would have one syndicate, like CBS, who would actually have multiple channels that you could tune into. And they would have them be dedicated to different things. Some of the younger folk won't understand this. A lot of the older people will be getting flashbacks to MTV and Sci-Fi Channel. Because once upon a time, channels of entertainment were focused on one thing. Today we have this nasty, boring, gray mush that's supposed to appeal to a wider audience. It is. It's the same reason that you have frickin' backyard wrestling on MTV now. But once upon a time, channels were exclusively for blah. Now, if you liked blah, this is your channel. If you didn't, that's okay. We have 8 other channels. I'm sure there's something you'll like. There were channels on the radio dedicated just to cooking. There were channels dedicated just to politics, talking about the news. They also had one that was dedicated to comedy. Now, this comedy channel was by far their most popular. Until that night, October 30th, 1938. A comedian who was doing a special at the same time that Mercury Theater was playing on another station decided to say some controversial comments about Europe. Keep in mind, this is 1938. Everyone is terrified that there's going to be another world war. They don't know what to do. They don't want to hear somebody making jokes about Poland.
I do.
well, you're an idiot. Anyway, a lot of people didn't like that, and so they turned the dial. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that you are currently scared because there's people talking about war. And you turn the dial, and you hear Orson Welles, a man who sounds like somebody that the crypt keeper would check under his bed for, is informing you that Washington has had aircrafts land on the White House lawn. Not a good night.
Sounds like a fantastic night.
No, not a good night. People were absolutely terrified. People were legitimately freaked out because not only was war here, it was apparently in Washington. It was in the Capitol. People were absolutely terrified. Fortunately, we'll be right back after this message from Lipton Iced Tea. You think I'm joking? No, Lipton Iced Tea was the sponsor for Mercury Theater. And so, people realized, oh, thank God, it's just a show. It's not real. They realized it wasn't real. But here's the problem.
Oh my god, a doomsday prepper.
People
doesn't hear that. Logs in way too late.
Oh.
Holly, the aliens are here! Get to the bunker now!
Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of people heard, it and were scared until they went to a commercial break and they realized, okay, it's just a show, it's just a drama. But they were still mad. And so they did what all Americans do when we get angry.
Get your lawyer. I'm gonna sue you.
They left a bad review. Orson Welles himself went on to comment how he had received hundreds of thousands of letters that represented millions of people.
Please tell me some of them were death threats.
Yes.
That is the most American thing you can do.
Yes, there were people who were legitimately furious that they had been scared so bad by this story. Now, here's the problem. That whole incident happened. People were terrified and confused and panicked for maybe 10, 15 minutes. There were no riots. There was no anarchy in the streets. It was people got freaked out, realized that they had...
Anarchy! I don't know what it is, but I love it.
I believe you.
It's a meme.
I believe you. Anyway, but no, people got scared out of their minds, and when they realized that they had been that's the funny part, they weren't even trying to dupe anyone. They had promoted and advertised that, hey, Mercury Theater is going to be playing its rendition of War of the Worlds Thursday night. You better be ready, night before Halloween. Be ready, be there. We'd love to have you on the listen to the show.
No one remembers that shit.
It wasn't
They just remember getting played.
They just yeah, exactly. They just remember that for 15 minutes they legitimately thought that there was an invasion, and they were. I personally think it's a lot of hurt pride. You know what I mean? They were embarrassed. They embarrassed themselves, so they wrote some letters being mad. Yes, some of them threatened Orson Welles himself, which is ridiculous, but that's what they did. And the problem is that there was another player in this little drama. The local newspaper. See, entertainment has a way of kind of slinkying itself. You know what I mean? Books replaced campfire stories. Newspaper replaced books. Radio replaced newspaper. Television replaced radio. Streaming replaced TV. It's this long, loop. But the older generation of entertainment doesn't usually go quietly. And so there was this editor, I want to say it was actually in Denver, Colorado, right here, that he did this. He heard that there had been a backlash about the War of the Worlds radio drama. So he took it upon himself to start printing essentially a newspaper tabloid spree of articles and headlines in the news claiming that there had been a mass panic caused by radio. Radio led to riots. Radio drama gets people injured. Because, radio is bad because it's replacing your job.
Radio is the devil.
Obviously.
And in a few years, TV is the devil. Satan's gonna get you.
Yeah, because something like that needs a TV to get into your house. But anyway, so that's the thing that always bugged me. It's like, really? A TV?
Satan needs a TV to get in your house.
Yeah, doesn't that sound kind of weird?
Yeah.
I mean, I get the idea that he's like within Christian mythology, he's technically powerless unless you give him permission or stuff like that. He can only do what you allow him to, or what what God allows him to do, or whatever the hell. I don't see how a TV fits into the equation. I'm sorry. Mr. Bishop, yeah. Mel Cigarettes is another very common sponsor for... Here's something that'll blow your minds real quick. Because you think that people spend money on advertising today? Dude,
my favorite advertisement commercial, favorite one, the Flintstones cigarette advertisement commercial.
I remember those. I remember seeing those. No. There were companies that would literally have a radio show, weekly, nationwide radio shows, just to be airspace where they exclusively got to have their commercials. The Whistler.
The Whistler, yeah.
The Whistler was by an automotive company. Lipton Iced Tea produced Mercury Theater, Mystery Theater, The Creaking Door, which is a personal favorite of mine, Inner Sanctum, Suspense, Escape. These were all radio shows, half-hour-long shows that were entirely paid for by companies like Lipton, Campbell's. Yep. Campbell's Soup. God, what was the automotive one?
It wasn't Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar, no. Johnny Dollar was, I want to say Lipton.
What was the Sealed Book?
Sealed Book was...
Those two are my favorites.
Sealed Book was part of the mythos of the Creaking Door and Inner Sanctum, so that would be Lipton, or Campbell's, excuse me.
I know which one you're talking about the mobile oil.
Yeah.
By the way, you can hear all that we're talking about on the Late Late Horror Show.
Yep. The Whistler's a fun one. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, which was the inspiration for Dollar Jack, our story. But yeah, they seriously, it's kind of funny to think about it. Back when they had like no competition, companies were vicious with their advertising. Like, they would go so far out of their way to advertise and make sure that you only heard Lipton iced tea for this hour.
Oh yeah, and then they were really territorial about.
They were super,
about where
regional.
Stuff was at.
Regional stuff. The Whistler, which is funny. The Whistler is one of the most well-known radio dramas today. And would you believe that for most of its original run, it was only played on the West Coast?
Yeah.
It was not until decades later when it got re-released and they heard it for the first time in like New York.
Best way to describe it is how Texas has Whataburger.
Whataburger, yep, used to be just in Texas.
In-N-Out.
Yep.
Five Guys was originally started here. Same with Chipotle. Yeah, stuff like that. But now it's like getting all over the place.
Yeah, everything is everywhere now, and I'm just gonna say it. It's not as special. It really isn't. And again, when you make something for the idea that it's for everyone, it's really for no one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is.
There's no bloodthirst and you have to fight to get your shit out there. Is it really worth it?
Yeah, exactly. That's
like how we had the red Santa Claus, the blue Santa Claus, and the green Santa Claus.
Yes. Santa wore a different outfit depending on what part of the country you were in.
Where his alliances lie.
Mm-hmm. Did he want to give you a Coca-Cola bottle or a Pepsi bottle? Or was he going to give you a 7-Up? Like, no, seriously. Once upon a time, advertising was the most territorial, feral industry you could work in. Like, they would not tolerate anything from each other. They would literally produce weekly half-hour to 1-hour long shows. Some of them were daily. Johnny Dollar was a daily show, Monday through Friday. All so that they could have exclusivity for this hour to remind you that you should absolutely have some wonderful, hearty Campbell's soup tonight for your dinner.
So with Ford, Ford had their car, the charcoal. The charcoal still goes on today, too.
It does.
I think it's Ford Keen
yeah,
something.
they call it something else now, but yeah, Ford.
No, the Ford's still in there. It's just... Most people don't know that it's actually Ford charcoal.
Real quick, as long as we're talking about advertisements, shout out, of course, to the Budweiser Clydesdales. They are awesome. They have some of the best commercials ever. I love the Clydesdales. But yeah, no, once upon a time, this was no joke. People would absolutely make entire TV shows just so that their competition couldn't be on the air at that slot time.
Oh yeah, then like
and
look at commercials from different countries, like the Pepsi commercials that we be showing here, but the Mexican Pepsi commercials,
very different.
Oh yeah, sexy down walking the beach.
Oh god,
music playing,
half naked.
Pepsi.
Literally, that's all it is a half naked chick who just pops open a bottle of Pepsi.
Yep.
No joke, no punchline. It's just half naked woman, Pepsi.
They know what the Mexican men wanted, and they did it.
Geez, remember a couple of years ago when when America lost its shit over the Japanese commercials for McDonald's that aired in America? That was like a year or two ago.
No, because fucking people were mad that fucking the shit over there actually looks what it sees on the goddamn menu.
Oh god, yes. So much better quality.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then what was it? Pepsi couldn't compete with Coke, so what they did was they bought KFC,
Taco Bell, Pizza Hut,
Taco Bell, Long John Silver, A&W,
mm-hmm.
and then now they're getting Subway.
I think they are, yeah. Pepsi?
That's why you can only get Pepsi products at those locations.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have specific products that you can get, like
yeah, you can't get
Livewire. You can mostly get that at KFC / AMW's. Baja Blast is now finally being able into the public.
But for a long time, it was only at Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Once a year, they would release it at your local retail stores.
Maybe if you're lucky and you beg for it. But no. It's kind of funny. Once upon a time, and I would argue this competitiveness, this feral territorialness, it created some of the coolest commercials.
But now you got companies that own a bunch of shit, like how
they don't have to compete.
The Mouse has Fox, bunch of other shit, and they don't have to fucking compete. They Marvel.
Sean brings up a good point. Shout out, of course, to the legendary Pepsi Man. The Pepsi Man, the superhero from Japan.
Yeah.
Who had his own video game. There's a Pepsi Man video game that is freaking hilarious. Where an oddly designed red can of soda tries to kill you constantly. But anyway. But yeah, no. The whole thing about the War of the Worlds was... It was literally a bunch of people got butthurt because they scared themselves, really. They scared themselves. And newspapers were trying to make radio sound bad, so they turned... a bunch of people got offended and upset about War of the Worlds, and it turned into, there were riots, people died.
I want to see the reports.
Well, just take my word for it. It was brutal. It was horrible. In fact, it's so violent.
Body counts.
No, we can't. It's too high.
And too autopsy reports.
No, you can't. It's too violent and ugly.
Says who? I wasn't numb.
Fuck you, first of all. What do they call... Oh, god damn it. Dad, please don't say something that'll get me kicked off the air.
Do it! Do it!
Oh my God.
What they call food over there is a lucky thing to actually be able to have over there. That's what they call it.
Wow.
You know why? It's because we have such good fireworks. We send them too. Because we had to share the freedom.
Speaking of things that are distinctly American and advertising and how lucrative it can be, we do have one last thing. See, we couldn't talk about being accidentally awesome. We couldn't talk about pranks. We could not talk about hoaxes that weren't really that bad without talking about the undisputed king of conspiracy. The apex of, aha, I gotcha. I'm, of course, talking about the legendary, the hilarious, the truly American Weekly World News. Everyone over the age of 25 is just like, yes! And everyone under the age of 25 is like, what?
Fat boy.
Let me tell you a story, my dear friends and viewers. The year is 1979, October. A group of friends have a horrible idea and a printing press.
You mean a great idea?
Oh no, it was a wonderfully horrible idea. They created the Weekly World News. What was it? Simple. Advertising space that you want to pay me for. What's in it? Doesn't freaking matter.
That's actually a great idea.
Literally, the Weekly World News was literally just random incoherent articles printed up on a printing press as what would become known as a tabloid for no other reason than creating an advertising space to sell things on. You think I'm joking, I'm not. This actually started out working. They made almost with I want to say the first issue, they made back their money from advertising. Because you would have it dozens and dozens and dozens of ads. Each one paid, freaking, 15, 25 cents?
Just like the yellow books when they were still a freaking thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just this mass of advertising space. But there's a problem. See, advertising space doesn't matter unless you can get people to look at it. So these friends sat down and they powwowed. And I want to point out, they pulled this off in 1979. Decades before there was Photoshop. Decades before there was AI assistance.
When you actually had to be creative and use your brain.
Oh, God, yes. I'm serious. The guys who made the Weekly World News for the first few generations were like criminal geniuses. Because again, this was all just to say, hey, we have advertising space. But they needed people to notice it. So they went as far as they could go. I mean, they challenged censorship laws of what could they say. As long as they had big, bold print headlines and some kind of insane photograph that would make you stop and go, what the hell?
Before those moms got their pitchforks and their signs,
Oh.
because they got mad because they had to parent their kid.
Mm-hmm. Breaking news.
They weren't.
Breaking news. Bat boy found in Afghanistan mountains.
Oh, actually, they have an article right here on their website. They're online now.
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. Breaking news. I was sexually assaulted by Bigfoot. Breaking news. Aliens land on front lawn of White House. Tell the president he's a goober. Breaking news.
Bigfoot liked that booty. He liked that man, but...
Breaking news. Siren scene that's a body double for Britney Spears. Breaking news. Autistic women are actually better in bed than regular women. You think I'm joking. That was a real headline that they used.
All of them were real headlines that they used.
Yes, everything I just said was a issue of Weekly World News.
Everything I said it was made up, but you believed it.
Mm-hmm. Anything that could catch someone's attention, anything that would make someone stop for just a second. Because here's the thing. Remember, this whole magazine was created to sell that they had advertising space. And everybody and their ugly sister was talking about the Weekly World News because of how ridiculous it was. It doesn't matter how much they actually sold. It didn't matter how many copies people bought. All they needed was to show a flim-flam of, look how popular the Weekly World, everyone's talking about us. That means our advertising space is valuable. You want to pay us 75 cents to have a paragraph about your soda. And then, of course, somewhere in the corner of this magazine, there'd be like a paragraph about what was on the cover. But no, this was the most evil, brilliant idea, and they made bank well into, I mean, geez, when did, almost there? Yeah, no. Okay, so I'll explain, because I'm getting confused with numbers, so Bishop, help me out here. They started this in October of 1979. They officially ended physical printing copies in 2007, August.
They're 28 years.
28 years. Okay, so just under 30 years. These guys made bank, and everyone talked about them. All through the 90s, they were in references everywhere. Marvel Comics even referenced them.
Software did too. The Fat Boy sent to Afghanistan.
Yep.
The kids get.
He finds Bat Boy.
Yeah. Or when they go to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
To give the goat back.
Yep. By the way, in those 28 years, they printed over 110,000 issues with 300 plus reoccurring characters that were specifically named and reappeared multiple times, like Bat Boy.
Bat Boy.
Who, by the way, was found in Afghanistan and then later joined Al-Qaeda, but actually was a double agent working for the CIA, and he killed Osama bin Laden. You're welcome.
His sidekick was Man Bear Pig when he was still a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, boy, pig.
Boy, Bear Pig. Anyway, though, but no, they were one of the most. I would sincerely argue, and I'm sure some people would disagree with me. They were up there with like the WWF in Americana. Like, there are certain things that were American. WWF, Disney, Weekly World News. Movies talked about it. It's funny, they became a conspiracy theory themselves that was actually mentioned in Men in Black. How the stuff in Weekly World News was true. It was just buried under ridiculous stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you combed through it real carefully...
When they were getting the magazines, they were just throwing it down.
Yep, Weekly World News is the first one they're looking at.
When a certain person was still a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Before he had an incident at the TVs on the Grammys.
Mm-hmm. And she still frickin' left his ass. Anyway, though. But, as I said, they stopped printing publicly in 2007. Because of an individual who could not possibly be more accurately named. See, Weekly World News was originally its own operation. Until it was bought out by an individual named... Don't laugh. David Pecker. I'm not joking.
Oh, man. That poor dude had to get bullied so bad.
He deserved every second of it. Fight me about this. So, David Pecker was a sort of media mogul.
Pecker stopped pecking another disc.
Yes. And basically, I want to say he actually also owned Sports Illustrated.
Before it was bad or before? Or
because of him is why the change happened.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute pile of crap. He is, like I said, the most accurately named man I've ever heard of. Anyway, so he bought it.
Why is it less fun people get buy the good shit and ruin it for everybody else?
I don't know.
Peckers.
I'm just glad that his name is Pecker, so I can just straight up call him that. Anyway, so the Pecker goes along, and he decides to buy the Weekly World News, but he decides that advertising just isn't that great of a business model. So he decides to roll it into the Sun magazine. Yeah, that thing. So the Weekly World News became a single page in Sun. And everybody hated it. Fans of the Weekly World News were furious about it. People
I'm rich,
who
I know what I'm doing. I also have a pecker, so I can peck whatever the fuck I want.
Mm-hmm. I do what I want. You have to respect my authority. I'm the pecker.
Shut up, pecker. Let's put your fucking face on the toilet again. Don't remind you of high school.
Swirly. I mean, sometimes you just gotta swirly a pecker. What can I say? Anyway, though. So that blew up in his face because it turns out that the people who read the Sun magazine didn't want the stuff from the Weekly World News, and the Weekly World News didn't want to be in Sun, and so it was disbanded for many years until, and hold on here, I think I have the actual date. Hold on a second here, I want to get this right. Real quick, before I... Yes, David Pecker. That is literally his name. By the way, after he bought it, okay, excuse me. So I got the dates wrong. It was in 2004 that he rolled it into Sun magazine, and then it died a painful, slow death and was discontinued.
So
it was in
the type of guy to surround himself with people who only say yes.
Yeah, it was in 2008. That a new company called Batboy LLC, owned by Neil McGuinness, bought the rights of Weekly World News and its archives. In 2009, it relaunched as a website. And in 2011, it actually attempted to reprint, but that unfortunately took a lot of capital, and basically the consensus among the fans was we'd rather just have it be
online.
A website and, you know, have a subscription to that, because a subscription to a website would be significantly cheaper than a physical copy subscription in 2011, excuse me.
Most people don't get like newspaper, like
Now,
not even that many few years ago, you could go to a Walmart and be able to pick up newspapers, apartment ads, housing,
Yeah.
houses for sale and shit like that. Now
You can do that at Safeway. I actually seen some lady come in and grab a newspaper the other day.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, and so since then, since 2009, it's been an online thing. You can go to its website, actually. Weekly World News is still a thing. It's just digital. Until now. See, in 2019, the owner, the CEO slash editor-in-chief of Batboy LLC, which became Spycat LLC, Greg DeLisandro, I think is how you pronounce that name.
Greg, not Pecker.
Not Pecker. Yeah, not Pecker. He was not a Pecker. He took charge, became the CEO, and he said that his goal is to turn Weekly World News back into a physical product. In 2020, he launched a Kickstarter that was painfully successful. It became regarded as, quote, financial gold. And as of March 21st, 2021, for the first time in 15 years, there was a physical copy of the Weekly World News printed and distributed through Kickstarter.
How long did that last?
Well, that Kickstarter happened, and they were successful in making over 5,000 copies. And basically, they've kind of receded. Not really receded, but just like calmed down. They're focusing on being an online website. But our boy, the CEO, Greg, here, has stated very clearly, no, Weekly World News is going to become a physical product again. It might only be something that happens like every couple of years on Kickstarter, but there will be physical Weekly World News. Because that's America, damn it. And because the advertising space is still good.
Seriously, look at fucking Facebook now. Hell, who remembers MySpace?
I do.
All the fucking ads and shit on there?
Oh my god, I remember that. But anyway, yeah, no. Weekly World News was so, I mean, like, tell the truth, children, including in the chat. Did any of you... Wait, what? Oh, Mr. Bishop, please tell me that's true.
What?
He's told me the story before.
What?
Mr. Bishop worked with a foreman whose name was Harry Dick.
He's mentioned that a time or two over the years.
Please tell me you're not just
We need
joking.
to bring your dad onto the chat so he can tell us stories about
Oh
this
god.
guy.
We
He's
need
gonna
to...
have some good stuff.
But yeah, no. Yeah, no, the Weekly World News was iconic, and we all knew it wasn't real. Like, did anyone ever walk by in the grocery store and see the Weekly World News and actually think that Bill Clinton had bought the Loch Ness Monster and was keeping it in an aquarium underneath the White House?
I wasn't allowed to go to the store.
Oh. Yeah, I believe it. We all knew that they were fake. We all knew it was just them trying to be loud. And the funny thing is they actually really started taking the piss out of themselves. They treated it like it was a joke. It was really... See, there are people who argue about, was the Weekly World News satirical? Was it, parody? Or what would you categorize it as?
Shit comedy, man.
See, I personally agree. It was crypto comedy. It was comedy about cryptids and weird paranormal things. But it's kind of like the whole argument about, is Jaws a horror movie or is it an adventure movie? My question is, were you hit in the head?
It's an adventure movie.
It's a horror movie.
Adventure.
How?
They go on no fishing trip. That's an adventure.
So is Deliverance an adventure movie?
Yeah.
I reiterate, you're wearing Crocs. Your opinion doesn't matter, okay?
I am wearing chanclas, and I'll beat you with them.
It's a Croc. You
Don't underestimate
Put-
a
put-
Mexican with a chancla.
put crap in it. It'll be a crock of shit.
It's in the crap of shit right now. It's at your place.
And Sean brings a good point. Just remember, even if you don't believe in Batboy, he believes in you. And see, that's the funny thing is that's actually kind of the messaging that the Weekly World News had near the end. It's kind of funny, actually. They got very tongue-in-cheek, very silly. Bigfoot and Batboy started a band. You think I'm joking?
Oh man, please let fucking Mothman be the singer.
Oh, they're.
There have been Mothmans in the Weekly World News. They're still around. I really recommend you go to their website and check them out.
I want Bad Boy to be the drummer. Bigfoot's the guitar.
They're actually on the run from the FBI right now.
Mothman's the freaking singer. And the Jersey Devil is the fucking bass player.
No, one of the cool things they have a shop, and they actually have a book of just the covers of just the Weekly World
Do they
News.
have shirts of just the covers?
I think
'Cause
they
that
do
would
have
be
shirts.
fucking awesome.
I do believe they do sell some shirts. Yes.
I would walk around with a shirt with Bad Boy on it.
I will admit, when I was a kid, the Batboy photo, the original Batboy photo, was really freaky and creeped me out really bad.
Yeah, me too.
But I loved the Weekly
Bear,
World
pull that
News.
photo up for the people who have not seen it.
Okay, if you have not seen Batboy from the Weekly World News, you're officially too young to be watching my show. Oh, Tara brings a good point. You Gilligan's Island was an adventure?
Yeah.
Oh my lack
It
of
was an adventure that went horribly wrong, but it's still an adventure.
Why do I let you on my show?
Hey, Disney owns Fox. Fox owns the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That is now a princess movie.
I hate you so much. I am about to commit a hate crime. We're going to have to end the show early because I don't want evidence.
And because now Disney owns Fox, they own Aliens.
Yep, there he is.
Alien Princess.
There he is. I'm gonna completely ignore you. Yeah, there's Batboy. For any of you who haven't seen it, I admit that actually freaked me out really bad when I was a little kid.
See, it was creepy to me. It didn't like scare me, but it just like,
You know who that reminds me of? The Goonies, but with his ears just more.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, show respect, everyone. Batboy is a veteran from the Iraq War, or Iraq War.
He was in Desert Storm.
No, Freedom. Iraqi Freedom is what you're thinking.
He was in everything.
Yeah, he is all. He is everywhere. Batboy is awesome. But yeah, no, absolutely should check them out. They were. I would argue they are the. See, that's the problem is because again we're talking about hoaxes. And I'm kind of curious about everyone's opinion. Would you guys say the Weekly World News were hoaxes?
They were just more like comedy, satire.
It's hard to say because, they were kind of trying to be exploitive.
Okay, let's be
But
honest.
to be honest, at the same time, if you're exploiting advertising agencies, is it really a crime?
Fuck no.
It's kind of like, when you go and you trip a politician down a flight of stairs, is it really a crime or actually doing the world a favor?
It's both.
I guess it could be both.
But more of the favor, less of the crime.
Yeah.
More favor.
Yeah.
1% crime, 99% fun.
Yeah. But no.
But I say it's a little bit of both, because let's be honest, somebody somewhere believed some of those articles out there, and they started telling their friends about it, and
See, Sean brings an interesting comparison, comparing it to The Onion. Yeah, I kind of see it. I would argue the Weekly World News was way funnier than The Onion, but
It was entertaining, yeah.
yeah, Tara brings good. Yeah. So, I mean, on the one hand, I want to say that they are the kings of hoaxes.
they're the ones who brought the gay frogs alive
Oh my,
with their magic metal wands.
oh my God. A young Alex Jones is walking through the grocery store. He looks over and sees an issue of the Weekly World News, unaware that his life has forever been altered. There's a parallel universe where there's a sane, reasonable Alex Jones just because he never read the Weekly World News.
Yeah, that world is boring.
It is, and that's kind of the a point I was gonna make is, yeah, Chocoloco Monster wasn't real. The War of the Worlds panic didn't actually happen. Nothing written in the Weekly World News was ever even remotely factual.
Just like
As far as you know.
Just like CNN.
Amen, brother. But here's the thing. Yes, they were fake. Yes, they were even kind of exploitive a little bit.
But were they
But-
funny?
That's the point I was, in this weird way, and by and large it was by accident, they color in this world so wonderfully. The world is a better place because we had the Weekly World News. We have the Weekly World News now, in fact. Absolutely, you should go check them out. The world was a brighter, better place because we had Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater and the Mystery Theater and the Creaking Door and all that stuff. Don't forget to go check out Late Late Horror Show after this, because actually I think they're live now. They usually start about 8:00 our time. The world was a brighter and better place because Chocoloco was out there scaring the crap out of people. I tell you, I thought the bugger had me. What a statement to make. I thought the booger had me. That is the most Alabama comment I've ever heard. But you know what? I'm glad we have that comment in this world. I'm glad that we had these things. Were they real? Of course not. Absolutely not. But, and this is something I've had to explain many times, a story's power isn't in if it's factual. Its power comes in the form of what can it inspire people to do. Is the world, this boring, bland, very serious, scientific, real world where nothing interesting happens whatsoever? Or are there bat boys fighting for truth, justice, and the American way, kicking the crap out of terrorists in the Middle East?
Man, I don't remember that book where like they see everything in gray, black and gray, and then like towards the end of it, one of them starts seeing in color.
They did a movie about it.
Yeah, I just don't remember the fucking name.
But that's what I mean. It's like these stories, regardless if they're real or not, or if they were intentional deceptions or not, they fill in our world and they color it and they make it interesting. They make it fun. They make it an adventure.
Anything's an adventure if you try hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it an adventure, is that you choose for it to be that way. You know, and I'm trying to think.
That third one, Bear.
The Giver?
Yep, that's it.
Ah.
The Giver? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
See, I do read.
Titles. Anyway,
I
though.
read that book. It was a good book.
It is a good book. I'll give you that. But anyway, you know, and here's the thing. For every frickin', you know, we mentioned it earlier, might as well just do it anyway. For every Kathleen Kennedy, for every David Pecker, for every Harry Dick, you know what? They can try desperately to stamp out all forms of entertainment and color.
There's someone there to put their fucking head in a toilet when they were in school.
Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is, I think the problem is they didn't get enough swirlies.
They're not getting bullied enough. Not the hurtful,
not physical
bully,
stuff,
but the bully where like
they
call them out for them being pricks and they stop being pricks.
They think they're untouchable. They think they can decide what entertainment is. Whoa!
She wanted to say hi.
Hi, Glennie. Here, you can sit with me. You can sit with me when I make my monologue here. You know, they can try all they want to tell us what is entertainment. You know, what is right, what is wrong. They can tell us...
Not bullying, hazing. There we go.
Yeah, they need more hazing. You know, they can tell us all that they want. The fact of the matter is, we're always going to reject it. We're always going to point out when they fail and when they sound absolutely stupid. Because the fact of the matter is that the world needs the Chocoloco monster. It needs...
Good Christians and Catholics telling them that I am the new Jesus.
No. It needs Bat Boy. It needs, you know, to be scared out of its mind because holy shit, aircrafts have landed in Washington. Because the alternative is a bland, empty, soulless world with nothing of interest and nothing of worth.
We never got the gay frogs.
Exactly. And as much as we make fun of him for it, the world is a funner place because we can make fun of guys like Alex Jones. And to be fair, like he actually, from what I've seen, he takes it pretty well on the chin.
Dude,
he laughs at himself really well. I'll give him that.
I think
he's batshit crazy, but he has a good sense of humor about it.
He doesn't allow. I think he had Joey. Joey. He's a comedian. I can't remember.
Joe Rogan.
No.
So while he has a stroke over here, I'm going to finish my mom.
He's a comedian. I don't remember his fucking name. Dude's funny as shit. He had him on the show, and he tells him not to cuss, and he just starts going off from right there. It's funny.
Anyway, though, you know, and yeah, it's like, yeah, the Weekly World News was factual dirt. It was fun dirt. And, you know, maybe those guys need to take some humble pie. Because, quite frankly, from the looks of things, as I can tell, there's probably more people talking about Chocoloco Monster than your goddamn acolyte. I'm not wrong. Yeah, no. But that's hoaxes. So here, sit with your sister for a minute. That was hoaxes. And they were fun hoaxes. It was all in good laughter. It was an entertainment. Maybe we made a little, maybe someone made a little bit of profit. Thankfully, it wasn't Pecker. Asshole. But we'll be back next week. What are we talking about next week? I see you over there.
Do it. Do not abort your mission.
He won't be back next week.
Says who?
Says
And which one?
Well, look, he hasn't said anything annoying tonight.
Maybe you won't be here next week.
We joked about that, about you two hosting a show and I actually take a night off.
At night. It's going to be more than a night.
Yeah, sure thing, buddy. Anyway, though, what are we doing next week? What are we talking about next week, Bishop? I don't know.
Weird.
You know, we have, yeah. Well, no, you know, we haven't talked about ghosts recently again. You know, we'll talk about more about, yeah. We'll talk more about some hauntings next week.
We'll bring Randy Marshall up here. He knows about ghosts. He was covered in their ectoplasm.
No.
This is Jesus. Wave to him, everybody. He's not going to be back next week.
That's what he thinks.
That's the bishop over in the corner there.
Hi.
My faithful companions, Famine and Gluttony. And of course, I am your host, Kristoff N. Chester. This has been From One Side to the Other. Calm your scaly tits.
You gotta be more sneaky, my nephews. Gotta get your boom stick.
No. He is not allowed to have a gun.
Especially the one from the Night of the Living Dead.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that he got that reference so horribly wrong or the fact that I have to correct him now. Boomstick is from Evil Dead, you cretin.
And I have said him one more time before the show ended.
Screw you. Screw it, David Pecker. And keep checking the shadows.
You know you missed me.
Not at all.
Oh, don't be like that.
Not even a little.
I'm your favorite Mexican and you know it.
You're my only Mexican.
Exactly.